All right, now we come to local implementation. This is where we get into what we in Del Norte and Curry counties have to deal with. How does Agenda 21 get started in communities here in America? Well, the federal government and its minion agencies have their fingers in the pie, obviously. For example, I talked to a gentleman a couple of years ago who had the effrontery to try to go pan gold in Smith River. And he was confronted by U.S. Forest Service armed deputies who said, if we catch you here again, we're throwing you in jail. Now think about it for a second. Here are two alleged public servants kicking a tax-paying citizen off of public land because he dares to stick a gold pan in Smith River. And I didn't make that up. I mean, I actually talked to the guy that it happened. All right. Now, if they can't use governmental agencies, they use what are called NGOs, or non-governmental organizations. And those are groups, for example, such as the Sierra Club and Nature Conservancy. And you have local NGOs, which are groups such as, for example, in Curry County, for a while we had a group called Citizens for Orderly Development. And then you have the latest, most controversial group up there is the Chetco Watershed Council. And I'll get to that situation in just a little bit. The biggest NGO behind the implementation of Agenda 21 is called ICLEI, which is the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives, ICLEI. This organization is headquartered in Bonn, Germany, and promotes local action for global sustainability and supports cities, and here in America, counties also, to become sustainable, resilient, resource efficient, biodiverse, low carbon, to build a smart infrastructure and to develop an inclusive green urban economy. Now this is right from their website. I didn't invent this. All right. Now notice these nice adjectives here. This is part of Agenda 21 Newspeak. The term Newspeak, for those of you that may remember, if you ever read the George Orwell novel, 1984, that's where the term originated from, Newspeak. It was a different way, a politically correct way of speaking. If you didn't speak Newspeak, you just were liquidated. All right, the state took care of it. Other Newspeak terms would be smart growth, carbon footprint, post-carbon era, regionalism, buffer zones, comprehensive land use planning. And let me give you just a couple more. Free trade, open space, smart growth, smart food, smart buildings, regional planning, walkable, bikeable, food sheds, view sheds, consensus. Pay close attention if you hear that word, consensus. Partnerships, preservation, stakeholders. Pay close attention if that word stakeholders comes up in anything. Land use, environmental protection, diversity, visioning, heritage, etc. All right. When you hear these terms that I have just described, pay attention. If you hear them, especially if you read these terms in any newspaper or if you attend your local city or county planning commission meetings, and any of these terms come up, that's Agenda 21. Local cities and counties will see the footprint of ICLEI, this international NGO, in what are termed stakeholder councils. Stakeholder councils are unelected, self-selected groups of people who will try, by hook or crook, to take over the control of planning and then running local government. They will start by putting forth what they call a visioning, I use the quotes, visioning plan or proposal. What they feel the community needs and how the community should look approach citizens, usually under the guise of some environmental crisis now taking place or about to take place. And then they will hold meetings or conduct surveys to push for some sort of consensus which backs their agenda. What the local people may not know is the deck is already stacked in their favor in terms of outcome. They will also try, and this is very important to all you contractors in here, and anybody who's thinking about selling a house, I'll explain it further in a minute, but they will also try to do away with your local building codes in favor of international building codes, which were adopted under Mr. Clinton's executive order and are part of ICLEI, where you have a building code for the entire world. All right? Now, ICLEI communities, well, we got several in Oregon, you know, because that state's so blue it's almost purple. But, for example, in California, the only ICLEI communities that I've found through their website that are close to here are Arcata, go figure, right? And Willits, oddly enough, all right? But when I came in here, a gentleman handed me what is a memorandum of agreement for the North State Super Region. And I mean, this thing scales to high heaven. The 16 California counties of Butte, Colusa, Del Norte, Glen, Humboldt, Lake, Lassen, Mendocino, Modoc, Nevada, Plumas, Sierra, Siskiyou, Shasta, Tehama, and Trinity share similar planning issues of a rural nature, which include a shortfall in transportation infrastructure funding, hard-hit economies, and population growth. Okay, this North State Super Regions establishes a, quote, partnership, one of the buzzwords, of regional transportation planning agencies, RTPAS, for coordinated planning to influence state and federal policy and to support funding and grants for partner transportation agencies. Okay, and it goes on and on. But here you go, folks. The rattlesnake has already shaken its tail. Now let's move on here. Okay, education. I would be remiss if I did not touch on this because it is a crucial part of Agenda 21. Agenda 21 is being taught in all our schools, and it has been since the early 90s. Okay, and UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Social, and Cultural Organization, developed a curriculum called the United Nations Decade of Education on Agenda 21. And it is an education planner endorsed by the Department of Education and the National Education Association. By the way, UNESCO is a Communist Front organization and was exposed as a Communist Front organization in the 1960s. All right? This is an education, the goal is to change children's behavior. Not just about the environment, but about everything. For example, here are the goals of this UN Decade of Education on Agenda 21. Number 1, facts are man-made. Disagreement should be eliminated. 3, rely on experts. 4, it is only okay to question certain ideas. Now, by doing this, you create what they call a precautionary principle, which means there is no need for scientific verification of cause and effect as long as there is consensus among all groups of people involved. So, for example, if all of us here in this room agree that 2 + 2 = 5, then we have consensus, and we're right. 2 + 2 = 5. This is what they're teaching your children and your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren.